Welcome to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host. I talk to awesome humans, people who do great work for dogs and their people. So come and join us for today's conversation. Hello and welcome, Isla. I forgot to ask you whether I'm butchering your name.
I actually also forgot to ask the same thing. So my name's Isla. It's Isla.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. I've been in Spain for too long then.
Yeah. That's I'm used to it. I'm used to many people I like either mispronounce my name or asking like, how do you say your name? So and
Yeah,
likewise, is it Anka?
it's Anke. Yeah, that's German and everybody gets it wrong too. Isla, that's funny. Like, because I'm seeing Isla like, oh, that's island in Spanish.
Yes,
So
yes.
I didn't even have doubts. That's why I didn't ask. But then I thought, well, maybe I'm butchering it.
No,
But
and
so
I
anyway,
don't mind at all. I have some friends in Latin America and they always call me Islita, which I love.
oh,
So I
there
don't
you
mind.
go. Yep, makes perfect sense to me. So welcome. Lovely to have you here. So tell people where you're based and what's your business with dogs?
Oh, thank you so much for that offer and invitation. So I'm based in Northeast England, very close to Scotland, about 45 minutes south of Scotland, the Scottish borders, in a beautiful county called Northumberland, very ancient and sacred and holy. I have been on a long walk with dogs, starting off way back when I was doing my PhD, and even before then, I was doing a degree in zoology, and always wanted to be a wolf conservation biologist. And life, spirit, universe took me on a different path of. I managed to work with captive wolves for a few years, but as I was working with captive wolves, I started to have a deeper awareness of the disconnect that animal guardians were having with the canine friends that they live with, even though they were coming to visit, a beautiful wild animal that was in captivity that they were already talking about very majestically and almost like falling in love with them, but yet there was this different connection that they were having with their animal friends. And so I went on a journey to get people to understand their dog as an ecosystem, because that was my training in my PhD as a conservation biologist. But I always have had a spiritual path as well. And so now I do everything from a canine wellness intuitive, getting people to understand their dog as an ecosystem first and foremost of the foundations of a dog as a physical, biological, sentient being, but also our animal friends as souls and what they offer as soul medicine for our own soul evolution and growth from life all the way into our animal friends transition.
Mm. I love that. There's so much in there. I think the first thing that jumped out for me was you mentioned it a couple of times, like looking at your dog as an ecosystem.
Mm.
So can you unpack that a little bit? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously people might know like, oh, okay, what's an ecosystem? But like almost like what does it mean how does your relationship to your dog change when you see them as an ecosystem
Mm.
versus when you don't?
Yes. Oh, beautiful. Thank you for asking. So, I mean, yeah, an ecosystem in its entirety as well. I want to break it down of that. I'm seeing everything as an individual ecosystem. So, what works for one dog as as an individual ecosystem doesn't mean to say it's going to work for another dog. So, this is one thing that I do try and unpack for animal guardians of just because the dog book says this doesn't mean to say it's true because it's not even being written by dogs, right? And like, it's almost like all the dogs get together and go like, Dave, have you seen what the humans have been writing now? Apparently, we're supposed to do this. And it does always make me laugh. So I'm like, okay, of course, from a very well educated guess, but it's still a very well educated guess or a belief or, yes, an understanding of when a dog does this, it means this. Whereas for me, I'm like, well, why don't we just ask the dog as an individual? Because we can do through that psychic, telepathic, animal communication ability, which we can all do. And I really love getting people to be in that space of soul consciousness and soul consciousness conversations with their animal. But as I say, if we kind of like backtrack a bit and go, but also what it helps to understand is our dogs, yes, are in a physical body right now. They're a biological being, they're a sentient being, how we can understand them as that ecosystem. And as an ecosystem, it's really about that there is no separation. Separation itself is just an illusion. There's a beautiful statement. It was taught to me around a teacher of mine, but around kind of photosynthesis actually, where they shared that the distance between the sun and the plant is just an illusion. There is no distance whatsoever. That is just, yeah, is just an illusion. And it's kind of the same thing, that we see our animal friends as separate to us, or what they're doing is it's them or it's us, or therefore collectively the dog's doing a similar thing in terms of what it means to how a dog should be. But I kind of here to just unpack all of that to say, no, your dog's an individual. So let's just forget what anybody else's dogs are doing, or what your other dogs in the household are doing. We're now looking at this dog's an individual, but also how it's interconnected to the bigger ecosystem of the Earth and the cosmos and the galaxy, as well as the ecosystem that we are. But when we start to look at our dogs as an individual ecosystem, it's kind of looking at how stable they are in all these different ways. So emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, the sense of peace that they receive, how connected they are with nature, again, in terms of how we allow them to be connected to their environment, to nature. And then looking at our dog as having energy gateways. So they have all these different gateways, these pathways that influence and enhance or almost sabotage how robust and how stable the ecosystem is. So it's not just about training, it's not just about behavior, it's not just about communication, it's not just about teaching, it's not just about diet, it's not just about their physiological health. It's about everything in its entirety, what is being fed into the dog as an individual ecosystem, and how that creates stability or how that can create nuances within it. And it kind of came about because of my background in learning about ecosystems, but it was also around when I was doing my zoology degree. We were learning about the germ theory hypothesis and the terrain theory hypothesis. And it was just so happened that the germ theory hypothesis kind of just everybody went, oh, yeah, that makes sense. We like it. Where it was kind of like germs are everywhere. Germs are everywhere. So that's why we get diseases. And of course, I mean, germs are everywhere, which is the whole point of how robust our ecosystem is, how stable it is, means that we are more or less likely to allow these diseases into our body, into our being, into our ecosystem. And so for me, what makes much more sense is the terrain theory hypothesis, which is how healthy an individual ecosystem is, not just health in terms of physical health, but physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, actually gives an indication of how strong and robust they are, which then allows them to prevent nuances. So disease, which we kind of know is a distress, a dis-ease, a perturbation within the ecosystem of the individual, and kind of exploring not from a place of desperation or obsession, because that in essence affects the ecosystem as well, just from a place of curiosity of, okay, what can I learn here? How can I understand? Maybe I maybe shouldn't be vaccinating my dog. Maybe I should be looking at my dog's diet. Maybe I should be looking at my own emotional state, my own spiritual health, my own personal work, where I'm exercising my dog, how I'm exercising my dog, the movement that my animal needs, how my animal is moving, out my animal friend's functional character. I mean, it's all broken down into these energy gateways, and then the really the healing that we can offer ourselves and also our animal friends.
Mm. Yeah, I love that because there is so much. And I think looking at the dog in front of you, like that really speaks to me because, well, I've had, four of them, never all of them, always between two or three, basically, but never all of them together. But they are really different. I think when you have one dog, you can't even picture that. Like you cannot even, like when I had my first dog, I could not even imagine how different they would be, from one individual, even if they live in the same house and grow up in theory like the same way, a bit like
Yeah,
siblings, I
yeah.
guess. They're still individual people. And I found trying to get advice and information was kind of often more confusion than help. They're just like, oh no, you have to do it this way. But then
Yeah.
my dog didn't respond the way they
Yes.
should, and things like that. So to really take this more inwards and come. So if somebody goes, well, that makes sense, and that makes more sense than, hey, like the dog, it does this, and this is what it means, and let's just try a different way. What do you think is a good place to start? Because it feels to me like there's a lot. There's a lot of moving
Yeah.
pieces. There's a lot
Yeah.
of to take into account. If I'm now thinking like, okay, let's make a robust ecosystem, or like if I think of like an immune system, I'm thinking like if I want to make sure my dog Yes, there'll be, and I remember actually now that you're saying this, there was somebody who did, I think, agility or something like that, and there was this discussion between all the, the handlers, what like flea stuff to use, because in
Mm,
the sand it was all like, and all these dogs were full of fleas, and she says my dogs don't get any
mm,
ever.
mm.
And I don't give any medication at all because she says my dog's immune system is strong enough to not be
Mm-hmm.
infested by that,
Yeah.
and that made a lot of sense to me. So if I'm now thinking like, oh, I want my dog to be like that, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
not needing to kind of just not be receptible to all this kind of stuff that other dogs kind of get hit with. Like, where would I start?
Yeah, and it is such a great question because as a dog guardian, we kind of just go, "Oh, I'm getting a dog, and I'm just getting a dog." We don't really expect to then have to learn the wealth of information that's out there now of like, wanting the best for our animal friends. And I kind of want to start with we are already, just by bringing an animal friend into our life, we're already doing the best for them. And also, our animals are perfect as they are already. They already know that they're perfect. They already come being this beautiful, perfect being. And they also do not live from thinking, which I absolutely love. We, as an animal ourselves, as human, we also should live from a place of feeling like our animal friends do. So rather than thinking, we should feel. And when we drop in this place of feeling, we actually realize that there is actually no questions. We can just enjoy this experience with our animal friend as they are equally as souls coming into our life to give us a learning experience because they are already, it's almost like they are already at a higher level of consciousness than what we are because they don't live from worry, from doubt, from judgment, from blame, from ego, from excuses. They're just like, yeah, okay, and I'm love. Yeah, okay, and I'm love. Oh, yes, okay, I love myself. They don't attach to anything. I always say, um, a dog's not walking the street going, "Oh, I wish I was that black Labrador over there."
He's
Oh,
got a slimmer waist than I
yeah,
do.
exactly. It looks so much. They're not, and this is, as a animal guardian, we often put our own conversations, our own narrative into our dogs of what they're thinking, what they're saying, and it kind of creates, we give ourselves a hard time, we beat ourselves up. And so for me, a really good place to start is actually what conversations are you telling yourself about your dog, and go to the feeling of that and what your animal is in your life for. I really feel like when we are, our animal friends are in our lives for our own healing journey, our own access to soul evolution. And when we can start to consider, oh, actually, I think this about my animal friend, or when my animal friend does this, I'm telling my animal friend that they're wrong, or I believe that they're wrong, or they're right when they do this, or they're wrong when they do that, or they're good when they do this and they're bad when they do that. Even in those moments and the spaces, they're already asking us to like, no, 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 let's just annihilate all those things. That's not even true. It's a belief system that's being placed into us. Let's just drop into the moment where our animal friends are living from anyway, of how is my animal friend? How are they in this moment? What are they sharing? What are they emitting or reflecting back to me about how their behavior or how they are physically, mentally, emotionally, how it's making me feel? And actually, for me, that's a really powerful place to begin because in order to be in this space that our animal friends are, which is unconditional love. They love us unconditionally, love themselves unconditionally, and actually that's what they're asking us to do for ourselves. If I loved myself unconditionally, I wouldn't be in like, oh, is my animal friend okay? Oh, how can I be improving this? Oh my goodness, are they really angry with me? Oh, they're doing something wrong. It's just like, oh, okay, we're just having an experience right now. We're just having a moment. And so if we go back to the feeling, which again is what our animal friends are emitting all the time, and what I love so much about dogs is dogs have the largest heart mass to body ratio,
Oh,
which many people don't know, but they literally are heart beings. They're inviting us
wow.
to be back in the heart, which is where we should be living from. And this is what even blows my mind even more, that as humans, when we are developing as a fetus, our heart is the first organ of perception that comes online at 4 weeks old. So when we're a 4 week old fetus, our heart comes online. Our head doesn't come online until the third trimester. So we're already having a heart experience at 4 week old fetus and making these heart connections with our animal friends. And that's really where they're inviting us to return to come back into unconditional love, come back into the moment, come back into the heart where we're feeling. And as we start to feel really, truly, and fully, we start to heal. And then we can start to see, actually, my animal friend is really good as they are because I am also really good as I am. And then we can start to have an awareness of just where we may be projecting or our own fears or ego or concerns or judgments we're placing onto our animal friends. And that's kind of what they're in our life for, plus many, many other things for their own soul journey experience as well. But I always find that, oh my goodness, I've got, where the heck do I begin? Do I learn about this? Do I learn about that? Let's just default to reset back into the heart, because when we're in the mind worrying, we're going to be all over the place. So in this moment, although there's a wealth of things to understand, let's reset back into the heart, go to our feeling, see our dog as unconditional love, the invitation asking us to have unconditional love for ourselves, and start there around the questions that start to percolate, but from the heart, from the feeling. I always find it's a really, really great place to start.
I love that. I love that. I mean, what I'm hearing, like the first thing that jumps to mind is like, oh, be, like how often here's like be more dog.
Yes.
That's kind of the objective, right? And also
Yeah.
to see them more as a teacher rather than a being to be controlled and to
Oh
be
my goodness.
trained
Yeah.
and to be like, it's almost like what is it that they are trying to communicate? Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm getting some lunch here.
Oh, that's so nice. Look, be more dog and have some lunch. Amazing.
um, yeah, so it's that sense of like looking and as an invitation to try understand what they're communicating,
Yes,
you
yes.
know?
It's such an invitation. One of the things that I said to my clients is that they may be coming to me for X, Y, and Z reasons about my dog, my dog, my dog. And I'm like, actually, let's just park all of that. Let's explore if we need to. My first question is, what is your animal friend presenting to you? I don't care that it's just a belief system if it's good or bad or right or wrong or it's doing something it shouldn't. It's behaving. It doesn't know it's in that moment for the dog, it's good and it's right and it's true because that's what they're doing. They don't know whether it's right or wrong or good or bad. And in fact, it's just perfect because all they're doing is behaving. But when we go to that question of what is your animal friend presenting to you, it's I want you to go to the feeling of how it makes you feel. Well, it makes me feel awkward. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel embarrassed. It makes me feel frustrated. Okay, well, this is all useful information because in that moment, your animal friend is bringing forward a charge within your body that has not been integrated. So it's being brought forward for us to look at. Your animal friend's literally going, can you look at this now? And again, most of the time we rebound it back onto the dog. It's the dog's fault. The dog's in the wrong. And it's nothing that at all. It's like we go to that feeling, and then the question can be, so where in your life was the first time you were made to feel embarrassed? Where in your life was the first time you were told that you were wrong and it's not true? So we often project onto our dogs what we were put into when we were young children. So the quality of our life experience I often find is what our animal friends are kind of so beautifully in our life for, to go, hey, don't worry about it. Just I'm on this journey with you. I'm here to support you, to teach you of how you can see these unintegrated charges that are just asking to be loved now, that are just asking to be welcome, are just asking you, do you know what, sweetheart? You also didn't do anything wrong, but you're at the moment putting that onto me because, again, it's a belief system that we've been conditioned to live our lives from. And they're the complete opposite. They're living their life from like, oh my goodness, isn't life amazing? Oh my goodness, I'm so full of joy and happiness. Oh my goodness, this is what's happening in this moment. Really being led from the heart. So I really feel like there absolutely are our teachers when we can look at it from that perspective. How is my animal friend making me feel, and what are they here to teach me, whilst at the same time, what can I learn to support their ecosystem and to really give them the best life. But if that is our intention anyway, then that is also what they're receiving, which I know, animal gardens, we don't want anything other than our dogs to have their best life. So even just holding that intention, even though they may have a disease or they may have itchy skin or they may have fleas or they may be having some serious conditions like cancer, or towards the end of the life, those things are inevitable. We can't, here to play God, we can't stop a transition from happening when it's supposed to happen. But that powerful intention of going, okay, yeah, how do I relax and say all pressure, like all bets are off, all pressure is off, I'm here having an experience with my animal friend, how do I make it a really wonderful, truly beautiful experience, but being from that place of the heart and how my animal friend makes me feel.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Reminds me of this book by Kevin Behan, Your Dog is Your Mirror.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, so true.
It is so true. It is so true. And there's another one that I recommend that's actually got nothing to do with dogs, but it's actually to do with children. But if you cross child out in many of the chapters and put
Always the same, isn't
it
it?
is almost the same, and it's called The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read, and Your Child Would Be Glad That You Did. And it's
Oh,
so, honestly, if you replace the word child with dog in so many of those chapters, I'm like, we do exactly the same to our children as that we do to our dogs, or we do exactly the same to our dogs that we do to our children, because that's kind of what happened to us as children. The quality of our life experiences kind of is massively explains. It's not the only factor, but it can hugely explain actually how we are with our animal friends and the belief systems that we impose onto them when they are not living from a belief system at all. So when
yeah.
we go back to that, like actually, as a child growing up, my parents, my grandparents, my role models, my elders in my society that were not terribly wise were basically saying, here, can you also unconsciously carry my wounds because I don't know what to do with them? And so we carry them through those role models, we carry them in ourselves, but then we carry them over and put them into our dogs unconsciously so, and still until we start to realize that's what we're doing. And with absolute purity of unconditional love, that's why our animal friends are one of the reasons why they're with us to go, yeah, I'm going to help you do this. I'm going to help you to see. And also, it's okay. Don't blame yourself. Don't think that I hate you. Forgive yourself. Don't don't put this pressure on yourself of like you're doing something wrong, because the reality is we're not doing anything wrong. It was just put into us from a very, very, very early age.
Yeah, and it's that moment of becoming aware of it. And I think that's where they so such beautiful teachers, because you've got them right in front of you. So and if you
Yes.
can come at it from curiosity rather than how can I, like I every time I uh host like invite an expert to do a class, I always ask people when they register, what are you most curious to learn about, right?
Yeah.
And I think what warms my heart is that the one quest or the one thing that comes up most of the time is to understand my dog better. Right. So it's that, but there is a lot of like, how can I, and especially when the class is about a specific topic, there is a
Yeah.
lot like, how can I make them stop doing this and stop doing that?
Yeah.
Right. So, but the overarching intention is to understand what's going on. And I think it's almost inevitable. The more we understand about the dogs, it's like we become better people in the process, right? Because we're learning all this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the way that I see our animal friends is yes, the truth is they are a biological animal in a physical body. I want to know how to support them so that they are enjoying their life and their transition, but also they're an expression of spirit that's manifest into a physical form, cleverly disguised as dog, because I'm going to fall in love with my dog. And that expression of spirit is going, can you look at this now? Can you see this now? We're coming to give you this spiritual message. So, absolutely, our animal friends do make us better people because they are here to enhance and shift out into our soul evolution, which is kind of also what we're here to do as humans. And so, I
Yeah.
really love this space when it becomes, rather than a question, yes, of how do I stop, how do I make sure that they don't, all those words, because they're just words that again we have been conditioned to have a whatever belief system attached to, they all kind of get dissolved, or we're just like, okay, we don't those things don't matter anymore. But how can I enhance my relationship with my animal friend? How can I have a conversation with their consciousness so I understand for my animal as an individual who they are, how it is for them, how they feel, what they're here to teach me, and that absolutely enhances our relationship. Yeah, rather than the you can't do this or you can only do it there or I'm telling you to do this. And it's such an old system that for me has never made sense, and it isn't working and it doesn't work because they're so much more than the physical body, and that's also what they know. They're not afraid to announce who they are. They're not afraid to show who they are, not just in their physical form, but beyond that. And that's kind of the reason why we love them so much, because partly we wish that we could be that authentic. We wish that we could be like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I'm going to be in my truth. And many of us don't feel like we can. And so it's why kind of like we love them so much, but at the same time we're trying to stop them being so honest and innocent and raw and authentic. But they can't not. They can't hide it.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think we also play quite a bit of a role because I've really seen it with mine as the more we can be calm and not worried and not up in our head and not kind of straight out of mind because they soak that up, right?
Oh,
And
totally.
I remember like little Bill Kai, he was like, very sort of nervous. Like he had like a lousy experience, like right when he was like super tiny, and he was always a little bit on edge, like super sensitive, as I got to learn. And he used to be, like walking with him was like Jesus, he would drag me along, and it was like, and sometimes it was worse than other times, right? And I would learn to realize, because I think, I mean, obviously you read stuff, and so there was all of a sudden when he was kind of pulling more than usual, I'd be like, wait, how am I?
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
it was always funny because the first was, I'm fine. I'm
Yes. Nothing
fine.
to do
It's
with
not
me.
me, right?
Yes. So nothing about me.
And then when I'm sort of literally took some, okay, let's just
Yeah.
breathe. Let's just touch that tree that I really like. And like the moment, like literally I can't, like make a conscious effort to just
Yes.
let go, all of a sudden he would settle too, because he was incredibly in tune,
Yeah.
with kind of anything in his environment, but probably specifically with me. And so it was really noticeable how his behavior was an expression of my,
Yeah.
my
Absolutely.
state of mind in the moment, and it was literally like bing bing, like your notification bell, calm down, bitch, like, the dog's going nuts. And, and also the more we moved away and moved to a quieter space where there wasn't this constant information overload, he was
Yes.
the chillest dog. And I then, when like where I live now, you could walk with him and he would not pull at all. And I never taught him anything. I
Yes.
never did any loose leash walking, any exercises, any treats, no, nothing. It was just we were both in a calmer
Yeah.
space and we just go for a walk.
Yes. Yes.
And that really showed how it's not about commands or about, it's kind of a deeper thing that
Yeah.
actually has that lasting impact and that connection that gets created. And yeah, it's just it's remarkable to experience, to be honest. Mm.
It's really, it is such a beautiful experience. And again, it is that great example of like just come back into the heart, so because the heart doesn't think, the heart doesn't question, the heart doesn't need to know, the heart has no expectations, the heart
Mm.
just is. And so again, as humans, we didn't start off as this, but we kind of get told and conditioned. Then as adults, we're so busy worrying, thinking, overthinking, planning, does that, and our head is so noisy that our animal friends are like, oh my goodness, like even when we think we're calm, we're not calm at all because our head's still like blah, 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 blah. And of course, I mean, our animal friends, as we are moving emotions. They're a big, beautiful ball of emotions, their own emotions, but yes, they can't not absorb ours and then again reflect what our emotional state is. So often, again, I will kind of say to someone, what were you thinking immediately before your animal did that behavior? Because sometimes it is the animal as an individual, but often it is, your animal's presenting XYZ and then it gets worse, it gets exacerbated in these conditions. So I'm just curious to ask, what were you doing, what were you thinking immediately before? And then again the guy, well, nothing, not, oh, actually this, that, or the other night. And can you see how then that changes the movement, the vibration, the sense for the animal friend? And also in that space, with my two dogs, Manitou and Lilu, that again, going back to them as individuals, they're brother and sister. And yes, we've got a difference in gender, but they are so different based on who they are as soul and then who they are as dog. But they were, when they were first kind of pups and we were walking them, everything was really great because they were little pups. And then it was starting to be, they were getting adolescents, they were on harnesses, we were walking them, and they were starting to pull because being on the lead was very new experience. And I was really curious because I'm in that space now, I'm able to kind of catch my own feelings. And I was really curious because I'm like, when they pull, that actually brings up anger for me. I feel anger. Now, if I wasn't aware of that, which is fine because we're all on our own journey, I would have put it onto my dogs, right? Yeah, stop pulling. I'm angry because you're pulling. That's what we tend to, again, be conditioned to do. But because I was aware of the feeling, I'm like, this is so peculiar for me because I would kind of like to say I'm a person that doesn't have anger. I'm not an angry person, but yet he has anger rising in me when they're pulling. And I was like, I need to look at this. So I would spend moments when I'd get home just in quiet space to be like, what is this anger about? And I'd thank them because wow, thank you. Because in that moment when you're pulling and is bringing forward this anger, what it's bringing forward is the frustrated parts of myself. But when from I was little, the little girl frustrated Isla, and I'm like, why is no one listening to me? I have important things to say. I have feelings too, and they matter. So it was like these little parts of myself that needed to be integrated. But when I sat with that further, I'm like, this anger is also not mine. It's collective. It's my mother's and my grandmother's, and it's the anger that I'm carrying for my the women in my family that have kind of been oppressed in that way and therefore have carried that anger. So through my dogs, I could just say I get angry at them because they're pulling on the lead. So how do I get them not to pull? But I'm going to the feeling. And as I'm in that space of like, actually, you're just sniffing or you go like, it's fine. The pulling then stops anyway. So it's a really beautiful space of looking at ourselves of like, yeah, where are we at? And how these things can change in our animal friends in those moments, because energy follows consciousness. If we're having thoughts of something, and again, this is kind of where I invite people to try as best as we can to be conscious of the words that we speak and the thoughts that we have, because they become things, they become physical, they become manifest. So even the words that we say about our dogs, but certainly when we're walking them, like, where are our thoughts? What words are we even thinking? Because that is still creating an emotional response that our animal friends are feeling, and we'll be like, oh, okay, I need to respond towards this, or I need to diffuse it, or I need to get out of my system. So it's a really, really beautiful example that you brought forward.
There's that invitation, to have a closer look. That's beautiful. So where can people, find out about, how they can work with you, about your books, about all your work? Where can people go and find out more?
Thank you so much for asking. So my website is called kachinacanine.com, and then I'm on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, and so I have like a variety of different offerings, because there's so many ways that we can get into support our animal friends having their best lives, including ourselves having our best life as well. So I do everything from courses that look at canine wellness to end of life, when your animal friend is ready to transition, but how we can make a sacred space for that, and a ceremony, and our healing journey around the grief and holding and offering around that. I do have 2 books out. One is because I channel the animal, the soul consciousness or spirit consciousness of animals, as well as spirit consciousness itself. And so I have a book out that's called Tunkasila's Teachings, which is the channeled consciousness of one of my wolf dogs called Tunkasila. Just again, messages, medicine for how we should be living, healing, wisdom. And I have a medicine story out that's called How the Canine People Help the Humans Remember, which is all about returning to ceremony, which is what our animal friends are like, come on, like just return to ceremony, return to ceremony, return to ceremony, which is all about, again, returning to our heart, returning to unconditional love, and just being in that space of a journey and experience, a relationship with our animal friends, a coexistence, seeing them as equal in that way.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. Obviously, I'm going to pop the books below as well, and all the links, and make it really easy for people to find you. So, because I think this is the kind of stuff we all need to hear and
Yeah, I
live
love
and
it.
lean into. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was beautiful to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. If you haven't already, head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for weekly doggy cuteness, tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog-loving heart. And if you know a awesome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, @soultouchedbydogs.com.